His Excellency Mr. Joseph Boakai, Vice President of Liberia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Madam President of the Conference of the Parties, the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, let me join speakers before me in extending my profound thanks and appreciation on behalf of my delegation to the government and people of the Kingdom of Denmark, UNFCCC, Secretariat and the Organizing Committee of the Conference of Parties for the warm hospitality accorded us since our arrival in Copenhagen. I see this conference not as an assembly of polluters and non-polluters, victims and perpetrators, but a convergence of corporate citizens of this planet Earth determined more than ever before to confront the threat posed by the climate to humankind and thereby becoming responsible stewards of our environment. Liberia recognizes the excellent presentations by various speakers and their bold declarations of commitment to combat this clear and present global danger by announcing emission reduction targets. Liberia further recognizes the African continent's common position to engage the rest of the international community with a view to coming up with a binding political agreement that addresses all of the key issues identified in the Bali Action Plan that is consistent with the Kyoto Protocol to culminate into a full-fledged treaty, among other things. Madam President, Liberia is a small country just emerging from conflict with 3.4 million people immersed in Herculean reconstruction challenges and has not contributed in any significant way to climate change, but this cannot be an excuse for our inaction. Over the last 2 decades, we have seen the devastating impact of 2 man-made events. We have witnessed the scourge of war, leaving its aftermath tens of thousands of lost lives, destroy physical infrastructure, fight of surviving human capacity and capital. It may take us an entire generation to recover fully from the destruction and disruption our prolonged civil conflict brought upon us as a country. We have also seen the debilitating signs of climate change, which includes shifting weather patterns brought on this by this man-induced warming of the Earth's atmosphere. Another instance is the rising sea level that is polluting the water resource, a vital food resource that will diminish with a rising sea level. For a majority of Liberians, the most affordable source of protein comes from the sea. Also, beach erosion is causing us to lose territory all along our coastline, which is the home to over 50% of our population. Climate change is real and it's ugly. It requires our collective efforts to destroy it before it destroys us. Madam President, indeed, it will be remiss on my part if I do not gently draw the conference's attention to the relationship between climate change and gender, which was particularly underscored during the International Colloquium on Women's Leadership held in Monrovia from 7 to 8 March 2009, and co-convened by Her Excellency President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia and Her Excellency President Tarja Halonen of Finland. The colloquium adopted a call for action of climate change and gender, and among other things, called on the stakeholders to support the implementation of present and future climate commitments by planning for information sharing, training, and other forms of capacity building to encourage women's participation in mitigation and adaptation, including risk management, as well as by making necessary resources and technology available. Moreover, the impact of climate change on developing countries, and especially on women and children, the most vulnerable, across our communities is seriously interrupting our ability to provide basic services to our people and meet the Millennium Development Goal. The principle of equity is that polluters pay and that restitution or correcting a wrong is justice. It is neither equity nor justice when developing countries like Liberia is forced to allocate meager poverty reduction resources to fight increasing exacerbation of coastal erosion, abnormal floods, and invasion of caterpillar worms because the rain arrived too early or ended too late, and there is no corresponding responsibility and funding to adapt to these changes. Those who have the historical responsibility for emissions and agreed under the 1992 Climate Change Convention to cut their own emissions and provide financial resources for adaptation and mitigation in developing countries must not back away from those legal obligations, but must act with the required courage and humanity. That is why the deliberations at these conferences have to and must be guided by the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities, as contained in the 1992 UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. It is against this background that Liberia wishes to align itself with a statement made by Sudan on behalf of the Group of 77 and China, supports the statement by Ethiopia on behalf of the African Group, and the statement made by Lesotho on behalf of the least developed countries. Madam President, Liberia welcomes the ongoing negotiation to sequester carbon by conserving the forest. This is a good initiative that can contribute to mitigate climate change. As a tropical rainforest nation that serves as a host to 43% of the Upper Guinea forest, we welcome such initiative and must take into account national circumstances of the participating countries.